Good evening and welcome to the first Three Pairs chat of the year, a place for you to learn all about the ongoings of Worcestershire County Cricket Club. I am joined by Commercial Director Joe Tromans and CEO Ashley Giles. We are going to give you an update, a widespread update, a detailed update of all things Worcestershire County Cricket Club here at Visit Worcestershire New Road. We're going to talk about cricket, we're going to talk about the commercial ongoings of the club, and we're going to answer some of your questions that you've sent to us during the week. So Ash, firstly, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Excellent, good. We'll start with all things cricket. We're going to touch base on men's and women's as well. About 2 months into the season now, we've had some red ball action, some white ball action. What's your overall take on the men's proceedings so far?
Yeah, thanks. So I think red ball first. It's been a tough season for the team. We knew it would be. I know I keep saying it, but I spend most of my time trying to manage expectations. That doesn't mean I do that in the dressing room. Of course, the team go out to win every game, but we knew Division 1 would be hard for us. We stayed up twice in previous years in Division 1, and this would be a record-breaking year if we can stay up again, and that's still very much the goal for the team. Having lost 4 matches out of the 7, I think the most disappointing bit for the team and for all of us would be that we've been in a couple of those games and we've been ahead on first innings in a couple of those games. So Durham, Essex, both games we had a lead and then gave it away. And often the third innings in red ball cricket can be the turning innings.
Yeah.
I think in many other games we've played a lot of really good cricket.
Yeah.
And just come up short, but the performance against Essex here was great.
Yeah.
The gutsy performance in that first game, the record-breaking save, if you like it, down at Somerset was impressive. The guys remain resilient. No one wants to lose. At times you can feel like you're getting beaten up, but they're sticking at it. And I suppose I'd also like to remind people. This certainly isn't excuse making. It's not that long ago we lost 7 players from our first team squad over 2 years, and no team in the country can replace that. And what we're doing is trying to build a team again. And some of those guys are young and inexperienced. The likes of Ben Allison, he's played more cricket in a row this year than any other year. Ethan Brooks, in terms of first team cricket. So. We will continue to battle in red ball cricket, and there's a lot of courage and commitment in that dressing room.
Yeah, and what you touched upon there is 2 names, Ben Allison and Ethan Brooks, who have both already started to shine in the red ball towards the back end of that opening block of county championship fixtures. How encouraging is that to be able to have lads like that really coming through and starting to show their potential at the top setting in Division 1?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's 2 sides to it. The first side is for those guys to come from teams where they're not getting opportunity. And arguably their careers are sort of just drifting. Yeah. To come here and see them enjoy their cricket as much as they are and play such an important role for us is great. It's great for the club. Matt Waite's similar. Yeah, absolutely. He's been with us 4 years now, but he wasn't playing a lot at Yorkshire, and he's had a brilliant season so far for us. So for me, it's about giving opportunity. It's about seeing these young people thrive, and obviously try and win games for us as well, which is the important bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we switched formats Thursday, week just gone. We went to Emirates Old Trafford. Really valiant display. Tough loss, 7 runs, and then flip around again. Lots of positives taken into Sunday. Now on the complete performance here. Packed house. That must be really encouraging.
Yeah, so was up at Old Trafford. We know Lancashire incredibly difficult to beat on their home turf. They've started the competition well, but I was very impressed by the way we went around the run chase particularly. I thought in patches we bowled really, really well as well. There's always stuff to work on, particularly first game out, but impressed with the performance, just came up short. And then Sunday here was great. Yeah. It was, use this term a lot, a great day at the cricket. Yeah. We put 200 on the board, really good crowd. I think what Joe and his team have done with the ground is fantastic, and obviously our operations team as well. Everything just looked really nice, and it was a really good atmosphere and environment. It's just a shame the rain came in with 3 balls to spare. Sort of a damp squib at the end, but to get that win under the belts is important for the guys, and hopefully they can continue to do that here at New Road.
And what is the key to that? You talked about the experience here for supporters who would have been here maybe for years gone by, or people that are new to the ground. What is your overriding take on what makes this place so special on a game day?
Well, ultimately the people.
Yeah.
You know, and how our people, and we've got some very good people across the business, how they interact with everyone who comes in the ground, whether you are one of our most important players, a member of staff, your first time visit, a member, supporter, a sponsor, partner, you know, all of those, we keep saying it, everyone to have a great experience when they come to visit Worcestershire New Road, and we're working on that. Some of the feedback from Sunday was very, very good, but that's our first outing in 7 here, and each one is really important. Each one's an individual match, occasion and experience, and very different given what different days are as well. This week we've got a Friday night, and that'll be different from the Sunday, but we need to make sure that experience is as good, if not better, than the previous.
Absolutely. So moving away from the men's side of things, the women's Rapids have also been in action started this year. Mixed start for them, won the first couple of games and then tough period, losing 3 on the bounce unfortunately. But really encouraging signs overall from what the women have been doing at the start of the year.
Yeah, really encouraging. I think Ed Wilson's done a great job coming in, taking over that department. For me, again, I keep saying it, it's about growing the women's game in Worcester, giving opportunity. You know, we've got a professional structure around that team now. And again, we want to give clear opportunities and pathway for women and girls to have careers in cricket. Now currently we are tier 2, and so that's non-professional, but you know, ultimately if any of our players go on and play tier 1, or if at some point we're team tier 1, you know, that was the opportunity I had as a young player coming through, was to go on and play professional cricket and to have a career in cricket, and I want these guys to do the same. Yeah,
and we speak about that journey from tier 2 through to potentially professional status and the growth of the game. Someone that's been a really key part of that is Khloe Hill. Obviously the club confirmed yesterday that she will be stepping down from her role as captain. Provides the group with a new opportunity, a new voice at the helm. I know Ed spoke about it as well. Just a word maybe on Chloe's contribution to the club and what she's done for the team over the years.
Yeah, and Chloe's been a great servant to that team and ambassador for the club.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can only thank her for everything she's given to that team. But now, you know, it's time for someone else to step forward. It will be a different voice, and there are always different environments, whoever the leader. So, you know, sad for Chloe, but exciting for whoever takes charge, and I'm sure that will be announced in the next few days before Sunday's game. Yeah, look, I think that team are going in the right direction, and Sunday we have a double header here, so that's a big day for them, and we're all looking forward to that.
And
I think if I could just to echo Ash's thoughts actually on Chloe, from a kind of commercial marketing point of view, she's been absolutely brilliant ambassador for the club. Really helped on what we've tried to do to help grow the women's game as well. She's been absolutely first class on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
On that side too.
Shouldn't go unnoticed. No, indeed. Now we talk about exciting opportunities. We got a glimpse for the first time in the interval on Sunday of new signing Isak Muhammad, who's joined the club. Lots of talk, social media, lots of talk around the ground about the excitement and the sort of the hype around this young man. What can you tell us about what attracted him to you, what brought him to the club, and why everyone is quite rightly getting so excited about him?
Yeah, so he's a high potential young player. He's only 17, so you know there's a lot of development still to come there, and we will, you know, be careful with that and measure that progress. But he was arguably the highest potential player in Warwickshire's pathway system. We've been tracking him for some time. I saw him play a few weeks ago at Portland Road and was immediately impressed.
Yep.
He plays 360. He's got a maturity about him.
Okay.
He's scoring a lot of runs in the league. So he's got all the good stuff. And he's part of the Ali family, which has very good pedigree
absolutely.
At this club. And he wanted to talk to us about opportunities. you know, it will be disappointing for Warwickshire that he's left there to come to us. But one thing we can offer young players is opportunity. We don't have a huge squad. Even within a squad of approximately 20 domestic players, about 4 of those are rookies. So there will be opportunities there in the future. Whereas at somewhere like Warwickshire, there is a long pecking order, and you may have to bide your time. But I'm not too worried about that at the moment. No. It's exciting to have him with us, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in play.
Excellent. We might talk a little bit more about him just a little bit later on. And then just finally to round off on everything that's been happening, some murmurs about some potential new contracts being completed. When may we hear more about them?
Yeah, look, I think over this next week, maybe sooner. But excited again to nail down some of these contracts, and people out there will be talking about them. I know they are on social media. And delighted to now have so many of our players on longer contracts. The market is tough, and any of our good players are going to be on the radar of some of the big clubs.
Of course.
And actually, as the system works, some people won't understand. We get lists every year of players that are out of contract in that year.
Okay.
And around about now, at the beginning of June, you can start speaking to those players if they've not signed.
Okay.
So again, from our point of view, there was an urgency around
important to get
sorting
it done.
some of that stuff out. And on the other side, look, there's some good players out there, but there's not a huge amount of depth available of quality. And all the big clubs are going to be after the same players. So we need to look after our own. We'll keep developing our own. I know people will say, well, what about Isak? Well, I think in Isak's case, he's really high potential, and you can't let a player like that walk past your door without basically opening it and pulling him in.
Yeah. And
B, I don't think he's blocking anyone in our system right now. I don't think there's anyone like for like who matches that skill set. Overall squad, it takes away a few headaches. When I came into position 2 years ago, I think we had 13 players out of contract in June, out of 20.
Huge task,
which is just, it's an unsustainable position, as we showed, and we lost 5 players that year. So for me, getting these guys nailed down, having some consistency there, it's not comfort, but it's consistency. And so Richo and Cads and the coaches and the captain know what they've got to work with over the next few years.
Excellent. Good. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for that very in-depth update. And, of course, with everything happening cricket-wise, Joe, there's been lots going on behind the scenes that maybe people won't see commercially. Lots of changes in the commercial team over the past few months. Could you just touch on a little bit maybe what those look like and how that sort of affected things ahead of this year?
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I think, obviously, you're part of that change as well. And so welcome to the team, Forming. Welcome to the first host of the 3 Pairs.
Thank you.
There has. I think over the last 2 years, there's been a lot of change in commercial. We're not quite back to the kind of headcount we were across commercial departments pre-COVID, but we're more kind of aligned towards that now. There's been a lot of change. We've really changed the focus on what we've tried to do commercially. I think it's probably fair to say it's a lot more marketing-led now than sell.
Yeah.
Worry about, when we talk about great experience again, worry about the experience after. But that's probably been driven from my background a little bit. I've kind of come into this position running commercial from a marketing background. Also, as well, sadly, we lost John Curtis a couple of months ago now. And John was an absolute legend of the club. Off the field, I think a lot of people knew him, and he was obviously really renowned in football as well for his work there. And that was really sad. I worked really closely with John, and he was a big part of our team. And I think he was a big part of everything and what reported on the news from New Road as well for a number of years there. There's been a few changes. We've reinvested in the marketing department, which is a real key thing for us as we keep growing. But we have grown a lot, and we're kind of the team's still really new, and we're settling down really, but it's really exciting what the future holds on that side.
Indeed. And you talk about the excitement now. Actually, there's been quite a few sort of record-breaking things happening over the winter. I know that sponsorship's been a particularly prudent and frugal part of the organisation over the winter. Some great work been going into that, from the commercial side as well.
Yeah, I think we had a really strong period of growth last year into 2024. over the last 2 seasons, actually last 2 years, the sponsorship income's increased by 333%.
That's incredible.
And I think, again, we link back to great experiences, but actually we've really changed the approach to this, and we've gone away from the sponsorship and partnerships can't just be about slapping a logo on a shirt.
Yeah.
There's a lot more activation. We've been a lot more creative with the partnerships. I think people who were in on Sunday probably saw the T20 champagne bar, which hits a lot of different audience members. Works really well with the Ativo partnership. We've done a lot of things with Beard over the years in terms of last couple of years in terms of artwork, live art and things like that. It's got to be more creative with these partnerships so we can get more out of it for them and help embed them in and grow them over the years too.
And one thing you can see from a customer perspective, the aesthetic in the ground on Sunday was the addition of the new Wada bar and cafe that came into place, and that's obviously been around for a few weeks now. First time we really saw it in action during a T20 on Sunday. How much work went into securing that? How much work, and how happy are you with the outcome and how that looked with fans and supporters in there on Sunday in the best seats in the house as it's been labelled?
The feedback's been amazing. I think the Wada bar and cafe was conceived conceptually during last year. I think one way how we'd like to invest in a way to then get money back, and naming rights has had part to play with that. But what we wanted to do, we look at, I think actually quite a lot of the time people look at target audiences, target markets, and they look at people, new customers they want to attract. Yeah. But actually, for us, I think that's a little bit short-sighted and wrong, because the target audience is actually what you've currently got, what you want to get, and probably you need to hit the middle bit and two sides as well. I think with Wada Bar we really do that quite well. Foley's Cafe, which is now the Beard Terrace, was quite popular, but financially the model just didn't work, and I think fairly openly they're in the accounts, so I'm not kind of giving you any trade secrets. It lost over £50,000 in the year previous to us closing it. Okay. This model with Wada Bar now, members have got a cafe back on non-T20 days. That's been really popular, but actually the model now, how it works, is a lot more efficient to bring more income into the club. And
you talk about not having trade secrets. It's no secret that to have a successful campaign, we need people inside the ground. Ticket sales, positive, looking good. They were up on Sunday, I believe.
Yeah, actually, so general admission tickets were 33% up on the equivalent fixture, Sunday fixture against Yorkshire from last year, which is really positive.
Fantastic.
Overall, we're 1% up on ticket revenue, like for like at the same period last year, which actually is bucking the trend across the country. I think it's been reported the average blast about 12% down.
Yeah, about 12% down. Yeah, so fantastic effort.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So in a really good position on that. I think we've again expanded the premium offering because that's become so popular. I think during the blast we were at 90% capacity last year. So Wada helps with that. Yeah. And new sponsors lounge as well, which is really important. So yeah, I think we're probably in the lap of the weather gods now a little bit, but we're in a really good position to kick on.
Brilliant. There's been a lot going on that's been launched as well to sort of increase that commercial prowess. We've seen Blood, Sweat and Pears, we've seen new LED boards around the ground, digital products. How happy are you with the progress and the impact that those sort of additions have made to an already very successful campaign?
Really good. I mean, I think this links back to what we talked about before about being more creative in activations and packages. Blood, Sweat and Pears, I think we're up to about 7,000 viewers on last night's episode and the third episode. Really pleased with it. We wanted a really inclusive, super inclusive product, which actually talks about cricket in Worcestershire from the grassroots to the elite level, and both boys and girls as well. And I think it's working really well. It's still developing. It's a really relaxed, nice product. Some of the hosts and the guests have had a bit of fun as well, which is what it's all about.
Splits opinion,
engaging. The ad screen, I think, brighten at the ground. Now, obviously, another revenue stream, which has worked really well. And I think on the back of live stream as well, which we've upgraded this year too, alongside the new website. Digitally, we're going for a bit of a transformational period with these sort of things.
Absolutely.
New website's been launched, which I think looks really first class. Live stream upgrades, working in partnership with Badger and Coons, working really well too. And that's just going to allow us next year to maximise revenues, digital revenues, in other areas and particularly overseas too.
And maybe just one more thing to finish then. I know another sort of baby of yours has been the picnic area, the Bennis Ice Cream food village, that's been sort of redone, revamped and enhanced over the winter, and as we've saw on Sunday again, packed full of families and friends and kids, which was great to see. Scope for potential there as well, been a really good asset, really good addition.
I'm probably mildly obsessed with picnic area in a weird way. We changed it a little bit. I'm ultimately I'm a bit of a nerd. I'm a data nerd. Last year we had something like 1,500 surveys, post-match surveys from T20s in particular. We've looked at that feedback. We've made quite a lot of changes to the food offering, so it's more diverse, probably a bit more high quality in there as well, which is, and the feedback on Sunday was really good on that.
Excellent.
We've also introduced a big screen into there, just so if people do want to pop for another drink or something to eat, they won't miss any of the match. But I think the big thing for me as well is we've introduced a singer on the stage in there before and after the match, so people ultimately can enjoy longer here at the ground.
Brilliant. Absolutely. Well, you could definitely reap the benefits of that here at Visit Worcestershire Road. So, Ash, talking about the place and the home, there's always talk about the future, and everyone's looking forward, given the nature of the elements and how things are over the winter and how hard the team have to work here. What could you potentially tell us, and for anyone listening and watching, about the ground? Is there any updates? What can we expect to hear or see maybe about Visit Worcestershire Road moving forward?
Yeah, so I updated the membership at the AGM, a really detailed update on the findings of the reports we've done. So right now we continue to look at options, I suppose, and that's for land for an additional venue. It's the easiest way of putting it. We continue to do that work, and I suppose the biggest other two questions are what exactly is it? Yeah. And how? In other words, how do we fund it?
Of course.
Because doesn't matter what scale of ground you build, they're expensive. And I know there's a couple of clubs out there looking at developments of around 100 million. Well, we haven't got 100 million, even with the when we get the 100 money. So we have to think very carefully about what that future looks like, and again, keep repeating myself, how we can remain sustainable in the future. For me, that looks like a more conservative model, but something that also gives us additional revenue streams. I know it leaves it a bit vague, but it's something that's not just cricket. Cricket obviously is core, but as Joe's talked about here, having a varied offering. So you get people in the ground or on your facilities more than just 7 big days of cricket a year, which at the moment, and that's not discounting Red Bull cricket, I know that, and we had 1,600 here for the first day of the Warwickshire game, which was great, but in real terms it's the T20 cricket that we make the most revenue, and so we can't rely on that in the future. But we're still moving forward. It's not, no one's stopped anything. We have a master plan development committee. It's formed of some of the board members and myself, and an external, so consistently and constantly looking at this. And when we have more updates here, we'll update the membership.
Okay. You mentioned it there about revenue streams, the shorter format of cricket, and how that is sort of shaping the way the sport is moving. A big part of that is, of course, the 100, slightly taboo subject amongst the Red Bull entourage, amongst every county. But it is something that's happening, something that we can't ignore. Is there anything else you can sort of, again, maybe update and relay onto people watching and supporting about that?
Yeah, sure. Same really. It's moving in the right direction. That's the noises we're getting. Whenever you get into, it's nice we're talking about these sums of money, but whenever you get into these sorts of sums, there are a lot of legals to go through.
Yeah,
people want to get it right, of course, and the buyers will want to make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and they're getting value for their money, and can't blame them. But I think from what I'm hearing, that process is moving forward nicely, so I don't think there's any danger of that breaking down. And I know some people will not be fans of that competition, but it's essential to the future of the game in this country. Both from a commercial aspect, so the good of the game, but also from a sustainability point of view for the counties, because all of us really need that injection of cash, and when it comes, almost makes our lives harder. When you don't have money, your decisions are pretty simple. But for those of us, on the executive and the board, particularly when we do get that money, and that's why I talk about what we do with any additional venue. we need to make sure that we look after it and it keeps this club sustainable way into the future.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Well, perfect. That's an end to my line of questioning. But now we're going to open the question up from some we've had from supporters, from members, from yourselves across this week. So if I fire a question at either, whoever needs to take it can take it. So the first question I've got here is from Steve Buckley. This is about a question that was raised on Tuesday regarding the beer offering at the club, and a mention of the local breweries we could support, as well as the current supplier, Green King. He wants to know, are we tied exclusively to Green King, or are there opportunities for other breweries and suppliers to be maybe utilised at the ground?
Yeah, so actually we're really pleased after a really kind of fraught tender process actually to agree a new long-term deal with Green King recently.
Mm-hmm.
They've been a long-term partner of the club and actually have been really supportive, very supportive of the club for a long time. But yeah, so we went through a tender process which took about 6 months, I think. That kind of concluded recently. We work very, very close with them. We're constantly reviewing beers, what we are offering. We've got actually a further conversation I've got with them tomorrow about what the current range is. So we work really closely with them. These conversations are ongoing towards the offering. They want what's best to work for us.
Of course.
Obviously, there's some bits that we're contracted to, some bits we're not. But yeah, there's a constant dialogue with them just to make sure we're offering the best we can across the ground.
Excellent. A question here from Mark Stevens about the signing of Isak, which we mentioned earlier. It's got a lot of attention. Not gone unnoticed by fans of both the Bears and the Pears on social media. He wants to know how the signing came about and what is so exciting about this young lad.
Yeah, I mean, as I've said, really, so I think he's really high potential. The family approached us to talk to us about opportunities, as I said. So, I'm sure Warwickshire would have preferred that we didn't. But, remind everyone that we've also lost players to some of the big clubs over the last few years. And so, when someone like this becomes available, it's very difficult to
grab it at both hands. Yeah,
I think I've been sent some comments actually as well.
Yeah,
which it's quite pleasing to read. The Pears have done it again, taking one of our most promising players, which is really nice. We've been robbed.
Oh, ironic.
Yeah, it's nice because we've had this feeling over the last few years.
Yeah, and. Look, I hope he will be part of our future. Talk about how you put teams together. I don't think it's our preference anyway, but to go out there and just get ready-made cricketers, buy them from other, it's expensive. And as I talked about, and I know there's been a few comments on social media about why aren't we out there getting players. Well, it's not as simple as that.
Of course.
You can't just go and steal someone from somewhere, even if you wanted to, and I have a lot of faith in our own squad already. So us building from the bottom up and bringing in the right people, the likes of Ben we talked about, Ethan, that's how you want to build sides, and we've got some good young players
Fats has really hit the ground running.
Yeah, Fats, and some good young players coming through our system, like Henry Cullen and Ben Gibbon, and I'm going to miss guys out now, so forgive me, Rehan. So we've got all that, and for us it's about building in the long term, and that's the support I'm giving the coaches.
You mentioned building in the long term, slightly more short term. Liam Booth is wondering if the club are potentially looking at strengthening the batting heading into the peak of the summer and with the return of the Road to Sea County Championship.
Well, look, I mean, we brought in Henry Nichols for the start of the campaign because we felt in that first block, it's quite a tricky period that we would need that experience. Henry's not had the results he would want, but it's been tricky batting conditions, and he's an exceptional addition to the dressing room as much as the team. We'll continue to monitor it, but as I've just said, we want our own players to also get opportunities because we need to find out, and you don't, again, going to the guys I've mentioned before, unless they play cricket, you don't know how they are going to react and play. And we brought in Rob Jones last year, year before, can't remember now, it seems it's gone so quickly.
This is set news, a bit of a loan period as well.
Yeah, so he needs cricket as well. And when Rehan comes back from uni, maybe he could get an opportunity. So it's that balance between performance, and I talked about that goal of staying in Division 1, but also not blocking the way of some of your existing players.
Of course. Question for you here, Joe, from John Meredith. Tannoy announcements of the T20 Blast don't seem overly clear. How can we make things better for supporters with information?
Yeah, and I think, again, there was, looking back at the match feedback that we get after every game, we had 140 surveys filled out after the game as well, and it's clear there's an issue there with PA around the ground. So this was the feedback was similar last year as well. We invested a lot of money in this PA system, and frankly, clearly the amount of feedback we get there, it's just not good enough at the moment, and it's something we need to immediately address.
Excellent. A question here about the pitch, which is an ongoing one, as we know. With the quality of the pitch, despite the monumental efforts put in by Stephen and his team each year, is there a plan or potential scope for injecting more life into wickets? And Richard Gardner asked, could drop-in pitches be an answer for some games? Is that something?
Okay, so look, I mean, this has been one of our biggest challenges at the start of this summer. So Stephen absolutely has worked. Stephen and his team have worked their backsides off.
Incredibly hard,
and the aim is to prepare the best possible pitches for cricket at the moment. Getting more life into them, that's not even on the radar. It's just, and I don't mean that flippantly, it's just about preparing really good cricket pitches. Pitch we had here for Sunday, which was a hybrid for the T20, was a brilliant pitch to show.
Absolutely,
but the challenges remain for Stephen from the occurrences of flooding year on year on year, and people again will say, well, it's happened before and grounds will have to deal with it. If we say that, we're not comparing apples with apples, because each year the situation changes again. The pitch infrastructure from the amount of flooding on the back of all those previous years changes again. So what's under his feet is really difficult to manage, but we are again constantly looking for solutions and for ways to ensure that when we get to the next batch of championship games that the pitches play better. But he's almost exploring a whole new world here, Steve, and he's had support from a lot of the other groundsmen around the country, but they don't have to deal with this. They are very experienced, and it's great they're offering the help, but he's very much leading the charge here, and we're very lucky to have him.
And that's actually really important, I think, to mention while we talk about it. It's very easy for people, I think, to look from afar and judge, cricket wickets and judge the pitch and everything. Actually, what probably doesn't get mentioned enough is just how much, and you can't really shed enough light on how much work him and his team do all year round to create an environment that we have.
And actually, and anyone from the ECB is watching this, we're not trying to prepare pitches like that, but we've won one, lost one, drawn one at home. Our record at home is better than our record away this year. And if we're going to stay up in Division 1, we're going to have to win some games. So we probably want more result pitches. We don't want bad pitches. We certainly don't want dangerous pitches, but we're going to need result pitches.
Given the significant focus on the future at both New Road and potentially an alternative one, as we know, what future awaits the Old Pavilion, which was dismantled for reuse when the current one was built? Is there any scope?
Well, as far as I'm aware, and Joe might be able to add to this because I've only been here 2 years, but the Old Pavilion is in storage somewhere close by, Joe, isn't it?
It is, right? It's in kind of like sealed container things, storage. I don't think we've currently got any plans, but it's always kind of in the back of the mind what we can do and what we can kind of potentially look into in the longer term if possible, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're that's very important. I mean, history and legacy is very important to me, but we're trying to maintain this place as much as anything at the moment, and we've done a great job over the winter on the ladies' pavilion, which almost looks brand new. But the new road stand is a big concern. It's just old. But again, until we're clear about what we're doing in the future, I don't think anyone can commit to spending a huge amount of money on it.
I think, and that goes on probably not just that, it's probably a lot of things at the moment until we've defined. I know we talked about part of the plan was to get a new scoreboard, replace the kind of outdated, just surviving one on the ground, each side of the ground last year, but unfortunately we had an issue with the ground, the ladies' pavilion roof, that kind of took that, and these are the kind of issues we're having to constantly kind of battle with, aren't we? Things, it's very fluid and we keep having to change plans regularly because of what's a decaying ground altogether.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, forgive me, I didn't answer the question on the drop-ins, drop-in pitches.
Yeah.
So, look, yeah, interesting question. Something we would have spoken about, but the feasibility of that here would be really difficult because we'd need a lot of drop-in pitches. When it comes to flooding, there were, those pitches need to be stored somewhere. They couldn't be left out there, otherwise you'd have the same issue.
Yeah.
And those trays are huge.
Logistically huge, yeah,
huge. I mean, they weigh tons. And so where would we put them? You couldn't leave them on the ground because everywhere floods.
Yeah.
You'd have to take them off ground, and if you had 10 of those, even from a logistical, operational point of view.
I think driving them on the truck could probably sink as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
They're that heavy.
They're that heavy.
Yeah. And someone suggested a helicopter actually to drop them in. Probably inexpensive, we probably can't afford them at the moment.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, slightly out of budget.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got time for one more then, and this one's from Jack Hawkins, and kind of something you've touched on already. But what is the biggest challenge for a club like Worcestershire when trying to sign top-level players, particularly in the sense of local and domestic players, but also looking at your bigger names, your Henry Nichols type players, as you mentioned?
Yeah, look, it's a competition. You're going up against the big guns, and which there's no point in ignoring or denying it. In many cases, with more money and better facilities, more modern facilities. Lest we forget we've still not got an indoor school. We don't have that facility, which a lot of players obviously want. And whatever money we get from the 100, other clubs are getting exactly the same.
Yeah.
And look, we will reinvest into cricket. The board and I have spoken about this, and we will look to invest more in our cricket. After all, we're a not-for-profit business. But primarily, we don't want to get caught in some sort of arms race for players out there. So we get, suddenly you've got player hyper wage inflation. That would just be madness for the game. We've seen it in rugby, and if we go down that route, whatever money we get, we're probably looking at a 10-year future. So we've got to think about the long-term sustainability. We're this year, 160 years old.
Yeah.
We need to be thinking about the next 160 years and protecting the future of the club.
Well, thank you very much. Ash, thank you for your time. Joe, thank you for your time. Hopefully that answers some of the questions you may have had, and hopefully everything positive that's happening on and off the pitch can continue as the season goes on and things keep moving in the right direction. This has been Three Pairs. Thank you very much for your time.